Hello everyone. So in this particular video, we are going to learn complete about the Azure Synapse Analytics. What is the use of the Azure Synapse Analytics? What are the topic which you should know from the Azure Synapse Analytics, as well as how actually we use Azure Synapse Analytics in a real time. Everything we are going to learn with practical, as well I have also included the projects parts. So you will learn complete about the Azure Synapse Analytics in this particular video. So let's first understand what are the topic we are going to cover in this video. We are going to start from a basic. First we will understand what is Azure Synapse. Most of the people think like the Azure Synapse is nothing but it is a data warehouse, but actual picture is a different. So first we will understand what is Azure Synapse. Then we will see with practically how to create Azure Synapse workspace. Then we will understand about the few components which you should know. Then we will learn about what is the serverless SQL pool, what is a dedicated SQL pool, how to query a data directly on a JSON which is stored in a ADLS. Everything we are going to learn here. And after that we will start with the Spark, how to create a notebook, how to write your Python script, how to write your PySpark script, and how to execute. Everything we will learn about this also in a Synapse. And after that how to create a data pipeline, that actually we are going to learn. And finally we are going to do one end-to-end project. In end-to-end project we are going to see how to use ADLS, how to use a SQL Spark pool, how to use a Spark, and how to do all the kind of the analysis in this particular project you will get. So this will be a complete tutorial where you will learn complete about the Azure Synapse. So let's start and let's begin. And let's first understand what is Azure Synapse Analytics in this particular video, and later we will do a practical and the projects. So let's start. What is Azure Synapse Analytics? It is an integrated analytics platform in a Microsoft Azure that brings together big data and data warehousing. What does it mean? Let's try to understand with the example. So generally what we see in a company, generally we have a data in a multiple sources. Like suppose I have all the transaction related data that is available in a SQL server. Suppose I have a few data that is coming from a API. Suppose I have a few data that is coming as a Excel file from my external resources. Similarly, suppose few data that is available in a JSON format, and few data that is available in a few other DB like S3 we have a data like that. Generally we see our data is available in a multiple places. Now as a data engineer, what generally we do, we try to bring this all the data which is available in a multiple places. What we do, we try to set up a pipeline which will bring the data in a common places, where actually we try to load a data in our data lake. That's how generally we follow as a data engineer. Now after once we have a data that is available in a data lake, right, and that we call it as a bronze layer. Now once we have a data that is available in a data lake, right, based on that what we do, we try to create our silver layer. We try to create a silver layer, means we try to process this data, we try to clean this data. For that we write a certain PySpark code or the Scala code to read this bronze layer. This data is very huge, right? This data will be very huge, so this data we try to read. So for that we write a PySpark code, we write a Scala code, and based on that what we do, we try to create a silver layer. Now once we create a silver layer, right, we try to create on top of this, for the reporting purpose, we try to create a gold data set, and this gold data set we try to load into a SQL data warehouse, for example. So this is how the process generally happens. So generally we try to bring the data in a data lake, that is our bronze layer. Once we have data available in a bronze layer, right, what we do, we try to read that data, we try to clean the data, we try to process data based on the some PySpark code, Scala code. And to write a PySpark code and Scala code, what generally we use a Databricks, we use Azure Databricks. This kind of the services we generally use, right? Based on this Azure Databricks we write a PySpark code, and based on the certain cluster we try to process the data. Now once we process the data, right, we try to create a gold data set, and we try to dump the data in a SQL data warehouse. Now this SQL data warehouse, whatever the data is available, right, that actually we connect with our Power BI for the reporting perspective. From a visualization perspective, we try to connect the SQL data warehouse and we try to visualize the data. That's how generally it happens in a real-time organization. Now in this case, if you will see what actually we are doing a ETL service. This is nothing but this is a ETL service, right? So for ETL, what generally we do, we use a Azure Data Factory in Azure environment, right? This is a one service. Now for the data lake, so in Azure, for the data lake, what generally we use a ADLS, that is a Azure Data Lake storage, right? That is another service generally we use. Now for processing, what generally we use a Databricks, so that we can write a PySpark code and the Scala code. This is another one service we use. Now for the data warehouse, again we create a SQL data warehouse. Now to connect with the SQL data warehouse, we based on the Power BI we connect and we try to visualize the data. Means for the one analytical problem, we try to use a multiple service. Now to overcome this, what Azure Synapse has done, it has bring all the big data, as well as data warehouse together. It has bring all the big data as well as data warehouse together. It means suppose you have to perform a ETL service, so Azure Synapse has integrated Azure Data Factory in Azure Synapse itself. Means you can write any kind of the ETL code in Azure Synapse itself. Now for that data lake, right, you can easily connect with the ADLS or another blob storage, that is possible. Now for the data warehouse, right, it will provide you the SQL data warehouse. You can create a dedicated SQL or the serverless SQL, and based on that you can analyze, you can directly query the Azure Data Lake storage. Means whatever the data is available in Azure Data Lake storage, right, you can create a SQL pool like the data warehouse, and you can query a data and you can visualize the data. Means data warehousing also is possible in Azure Synapse. Now if you had to write any kind of the Spark code, right, so they have come up with the Spark pool. So based on the Spark pool, you can create a cluster and you can write any kind of the PySpark code, Scala code, or any language. You can write a code and you can process the data. Means all the big data analytical service and the data warehouse service, they have bring together in Azure Synapse. Now you don't need to depend on the any Databricks or any other services. And also from this SQL pool, right, in data warehouse, you can directly connect the Power BI. So this facility also they have provided in Azure Synapse itself. Mean in one Azure Synapse Analytics, you can do all the big data related thing, also the data warehouse related thing. Everything is possible in a one single go. So that's how Azure Synapse Analytics is very much important. Now let's understand. It enable organization to query, analyze and visualize vast amount of data from a different resources. Synapse combine capability of data integration, that is nothing but a ETL, data warehousing, that is a SQL data warehouse, big data analytics means any kind of the Spark code you can write, and machine learning into a single service. It combine capability of the data integration, data warehouse, big data analytics and machine learning into a single service. So I hope you got the idea. In Azure Synapse, we can write any kind of the ETL, we can write any kind of the data warehouse, we can build a data warehouse, we can build a big data analytics solution, and also any machine learning code also we can do in Azure Synapse itself. Now what are the key feature of the Azure Synapse? Unified experience, allow user to manage, process and query data in a one single place. If you have to manage a data, if you have to process a data, if you have to query a data in a single place itself, you can do that. That is one of the key feature. On demand and the provision query. You can use a on demand query or the serverless. What is on demand means? On demand means you can set up your own cluster. You can set up your own cluster for the data warehouse, or you can use a serverless. When I'm saying serverless, it means azure will azure will manage all the service for you. Azure will manage all the cluster, like you have to Suppose the cluster size you have to increase based on the data, so everything will be maintained by the Azure itself. Means you can use a on demand, you can set up your own cluster, or the serverless also you can use. So it provide the both facility for the SQL pool. Integrate with the machine learning. Seamless integration with the Azure machine learning is possible with the help of Azure Synapse. Power BI integration allows direct integration with the Power BI for the visualization and the reporting. So that is the advantage we get. So I hope you got the overall idea about the Azure Synapse. We will do a more practical so that we'll get a better idea. So in Azure Synapse, we get the data from a different resources, right? On-prem, cloud and all. So what generally we do? We try to store the data in Azure Data Lake storage. And if you have to write a SQL code on top of this, you can write the SQL code. If you have to do any kind of the Spark code, that is also possible in a Azure Spark code you can write, SQL code you can write. If you have to write any ETL pipeline similar to the ADF, you can do that. It means all the data integration, management, monitoring, security, everything is possible. As well, you have a direct connection with the Power BI, so that you can connect with the Power BI for the reporting and all. Means one single service providing everything for the analytical purpose. So I hope you got the idea about the Azure Synapse Analytics. In next video, we will try to set up Azure Synapse Analytics. Hello everyone, so now we are starting our practical, and in this particular video we are going to see how actually we can create a Azure Synapse workspace in a Azure environment. I hope you already have a Azure account. If you don't have Azure account, you can create a free Azure account. You will get 30 days free trial for the Azure account creation. That part actually you can do, and after that you can start a practical. So let me open a Azure portal. I have already created an account. So once you will open your Azure portal, right, you will see like this particular screen, portal.azure.com, and this is the URL which you have to open. After that, what you have to do, we are going to create Azure Synapse. So in a search bar, you have to search for the Synapse. Once you will search for the Azure Synapse, you can see this Azure Synapse Analytics is coming. Click on that. After that, you can see we as of now we don't have any workspace, so we can create a new Azure Synapse Analytics workspace. So click on the create. Once you will click on the create, you will see this particular screen. In this screen, what we have to do, first we have to select the subscription. If you have a free trial subscription, right, you can select that. After that, we have to give the resource group. So if you haven't created any resource group, what you have to do, click on the create new, give any name and click on the OK. The resource group will be created. So under the resource group only, we are going to create a certain services. So for that the resource group is required. I have already created resource group. I will select that. There is one more thing, manage resource group. There are few services which Azure will manage. So for that, if you want to specific name you want to give, you can give in the manage resource group, so that the specific name it will taken. If you will not mention anything, by default it will take any name which Azure will manage. So manage resource group, that will come. As of now, I am not giving anything. After that, the workspace name. So what is the workspace name you want to give? So I will give the workspace name POC Synapse Practical something. This is the one I am giving. You can give any name. POC Workspace Practical. This one is I am giving. After that, the region you have to select. So what I will select? I will select the region as a East US 2. Near to your region, you can select that. After that, there is an option to select your the data lake storage account, means ADLS account. In a Synapse workspace, it will be directly connected to the ADLS Azure Data Lake storage, right? So if you already have any Azure Data Lake storage, you can select from here. If you don't have any data lake storage, any data lake, what you can do, you can create a new. So what I am going to do, I am going to create one data lake storage. I will give the name as a POC data lake something. Make sure the name should be unique, so I will give the random name. This is the name actually I am going to create. This is the Azure Data Lake storage I am going to create. Click on the OK. So this is the Azure Data Lake storage we have created. After that, the file system name is coming. So file system name is nothing but it is kind of the container. So in a blob storage we create a container, right? Similarly in file system name we have to give. So what I will give, I want to create one container name POC input something. So this is what I want to create, so I'll give the name. You can also create a container, any container which you want. After that, what we have to do, we have to click on the next security. So by default, what actually happen when you will create a Azure Synapse, this serverless SQL pool will be created. Serverless SQL pool will be created. For that, if you want to specify the password, right, and that you can specify. So I'll give the password here. Make sure to remember that. So I will mention the password. The password I have mentioned. After that, we'll click on the next. Networking will go by default. Tags, review and create. After that, you will see whatever you have created, right? You can see it is costing per TB is around the 5 USD for the whatever the services we are using. So per TB for the serverless SQL which we have created, right? For per TB it is costing this much, and if you want to read, right? Serverless SQL is available immediately after provisioning the workspace and follow pay per query billing model. Means whatever the query you will write, right? Whatever the query you will write, only for those you have to pay. So that is the pricing for that. And for the per TB, right, for the scanning you will cost 5 USD. So that is what it is saying. And whatever you have selected, right, you can see this and click on the create. Once you will click on the create, right, the deployment will initialize. So you can see in Azure Synapse we have mentioned the data lake storage. So it will create a Azure Data Lake storage. It will create the Synapse workspace, and also it is going to create the SQL serverless SQL pool. So this all the things actually it is going to be created. So you can see deployment is in progress. So let's wait it to be completed. Now you can see the deployment is completed. We will click on the go to resource group. Once you will click on the go to resource group, right, you can see one Synapse workspace we have created, as well as one data lake also we have created. So let me open a data lake. I'll show you what is the data lake we have created. One data lake storage account we have created, right? So you can see this POC data lake which got created, as well as we have also mentioned the container. So let's see one container got created or not. So what you have to do, go to the data storage container. You can see one container which we have mentioned, right, that also got created, and as of now we don't have any file there. So we have created data lake storage also. Now coming to the Synapse workspace, this is the Synapse workspace we have created. All the things you can see here, whatever the activity log, IAM control, you can mention from here. Now to open a Synapse Studio, right, you can see open Synapse Studio. Click on this. Once you will click on the this, right, Azure Synapse workspace will be created. Now during the creation we also created one SQL serverless SQL pool, right? So you can see SQL pool, built-in SQL pool, serverless SQL pool got created. This also we can see here. Now once you will open a Synapse workspace, right, you can see this is the Synapse workspace, or you can also mention the URL web.azuresynapse.net, that also will open. Now this is the window for the Synapse workspace. Now here you can see the ingestion, all the any kind of the ingestion you can do. You can do the explore and the analysis, and also you can visualize this, like you can connect with the Power BI. In the left side window, right, in left side window you can see we have a home option, we have a data option, we have a develop, we have a integrate, and we have a monitor, and also we have a manage. Once you click on the home, you will see this particular workspace. Go to the data. In the data option you can see you have a workspace as well as the linked. So as of now workspace is empty, but if you click on the link, right, this is linked with the Azure Data Lake storage, whatever we have created. Link is nothing but whatever is already linked, means link service we were using in Azure Data Factory, right? So that actually we have mentioned here, means it is already linked with the Azure Data Lake storage. And also you can see the container name also it is showing me. You can see this is the container name. In this container as of now no file is available, but if you want to upload any file, right, from here also you can upload that file. You can upload the file, you can create a folder, anything also you can do. So in a link service, whatever the storage you have linked, right, that also you will see here. It means all the kind of the data you can see from here in the linked. Now coming to the develop. In the develop, all the kind of the development actually we will do. So if you want to create a SQL script, right, you can create a SQL script. If you want to create a KQL script similar to the SQL, you can create that. You can create a notebook for any kind of the PySpark code, that also you can do. You can create any kind of the data flow like similar to the Azure Data Factory we were doing, right? That also we can do. So this all the option is available in a develop option, we can do that. Now if you click on the integrate, the third option is integrate. Click on the integrate, click on the plus. You can see we have a pipeline option. Click on the pipeline. Once you will click on the pipeline, right? So you can see this is the similar screen which we have seen in Azure Data Factory also. Like you can do a copy data, data flow, all the kind of the data factory activity, right? Everything you can do here itself. In a integrate option, all the ADF pipeline which you want to set up, you can do that. In a develop option, right? If you click on the notebook, you can see here you will be able to write any kind of the PySpark code, means any kind of the PySpark code you can write here. If you click on the SQL script, it will open one SQL window, and in this SQL window you can write any kind of the SQL code, means you can write a SQL code, you can write any kind of the PySpark code, you can go to the integrate, you can create any kind of the pipeline, and also we have option for the monitor, any kind of the monitoring you can do. And also we get a direct connection for the Power BI. So if you want to connect the Power BI, that also option also is available. So what you have to do, if you click on the visualize, and you can connect to your Power BI workspace also. So Synapse is the one single workspace which is providing everything for the analytical purpose. Like you can write a SQL, you can write a PySpark, you can create a pipeline, and you can schedule it. Everything is possible here. In next video, we will try to explore more about this. Hello everyone. So in previous video, we have seen like how to create a Synapse workspace. In this particular video, we are going to understand few terminology which you should know, like what is a link service, what is a SQL pool, what is a Spark pool, what is a integrate, and the monitor option which is available in a Synapse workspace. So let's start with the link service. What is a link service? Link service are used to define connection to the external data sources. For taking example, suppose we have one of the external data sources, one SQL database is there. Now to connect to this SQL database, what actually we need? We need a username, we need a password, we need a server details. These all the things which is required, right, to connect to the SQL database. Now what actually we do? We create a one link service. We create a one link service. We specify all those details which is required to connect to this SQL database in this link service, so that we can establish a connection to this SQL database. So what is a link service? Link service help us to connect to the external resources. For taking example, suppose you want to connect to the blob storage. Now to connect to the blob storage, what we will do, we'll create one link service, we'll specify all those details which is required to the connect to the blob storage, and this link service will be help to connect to this blob storage. Let's take one example. I created this Synapse workspace, right? Go to the manage, you will see this link service, right? In this link service, suppose you want to connect to the external sources. Let's take one example, SQL database. Click on the continue. Now to connect to this SQL database, right, you will require all the server name, you require a username, password. So all those details you will fill, and you will create a one link service, and this link service we will help to connect to the SQL database. What actually we are doing, we are creating one link service, we are specifying all the those details which is required to connect to the SQL database. So this link service help us to establish a connection to the external resources. Now coming to the next thing, that is a SQL pool. What is a SQL pool? SQL pool are the traditional relational data warehouse in Azure Synapse. They allow you to perform analytics and query on structured data. So what is a SQL pool? In Azure Synapse, suppose you have a ADLS. In this ADLS you have a data. Now this data you want to analyze. So if you want to analyze, what actually you can do? You can write any kind of the query in Azure Synapse, right? Now to execute this query, what actually we required? We required a SQL pool. We required a SQL pool. So this SQL pool will help you to execute the query. Now in Azure Synapse we have two types of the SQL pool. One is a serverless, one is a dedicated. Now what is a serverless? In a serverless, what will happen? Everything will be maintained by a Azure. Everything will be maintained by the Microsoft. Like what will be the performance level? Suppose you are writing one complex query, right? So for that the more performance is required. So in this case serverless, everything will be maintained by a Microsoft itself. In a dedicated, you had to specify what will be the performance level. So that is the only difference. Let's take one example. You can see in the last manage, right, we have a SQL pool. So by default, once you will create a Synapse workspace, right, by default the serverless SQL pool will be available. Now what you have to do, whatever the query you will execute, right, only for those you have to pay when you will use a serverless. But suppose you want to have one dedicated SQL pool, so that also you can create. In this case you have to specify the performance level, and based on the performance level you will be charged. So you can create a dedicated SQL pool, or you can have a serverless SQL pool, and based on that you can write any kind of the query and you can execute that. Now coming to the next one, that is a Spark pool. Spark pool are dedicated cluster. Now what is a cluster? Cluster is nothing but it is a group of a VM, a group of machine which help us to process a data. Suppose you have a very large data. Now this large data, if you want to process, right, one single machine will not be able to process. You will require a multiple machine so that it can process a data. So this multiple machine is nothing but it is a cluster. So Spark pool are dedicated cluster that allow big data processing and the distributed computation. For taking example, suppose you have a large data that you want to process. So for that you will write a PySpark code, right, to process those data. So to execute this, what actually we need? We need a Spark pool. So how actually we'll do? We'll create one Spark pool. We'll create one cluster. Spark pool is nothing but a kind of the cluster where we have to specify what will be our node size, like what will be, how many core is required, what is the memory we require. So we'll specify everything, like whether the auto scale is needed or not, and based on that we will be charged for that. So it is like you have Spark pool is nothing but it is kind of the dedicated cluster which you had to create so that you can process a large amount of data. So SQL pool is for the SQL query, Spark pool is for the big data, large data processing. Now coming to the integrate. Integrate is nothing but suppose you want to perform any kind of the ETL operation, like ADF, right? In ADF we were writing a copy data, or any kind of the any activity, any ETL activity you want to do, in an integrate option we can do. For taking example, you can see we have a integrate option, right? In a integrate you can create any kind of the pipeline. Suppose you want to do a copy data, so all the kind of the ETL activity we can do here. Now next is the monitor. Monitoring in a Synapse Studio refers to the tracking and troubleshooting the performance of data pipeline, SQL pool and the Spark pool. To monitor the data pipeline, like whatever the ETL pipeline you are running, or whatever the SQL pool you have, whatever the query you are writing, whatever the Spark pool you are writing, right? To monitor that, we have a one dedicated monitor option. If I'll show you, this is the monitor option. Here all the details will be mentioned once you will execute, right? And that will help us for the debugging perspective and from the troubleshooting purpose. So I hope you got the idea what is SQL pool, what is a Apache Spark, what is a Apache Spark pool, and what is a integration, what is a link service. We also have one integration runtime. This integration runtime will help you to, suppose you want to connect to the on-prem. So what actually we do in this case, we have to create one integration runtime. So we have to create one self-hosted integration runtime so that we can connect to the external resources. And if it is already available in Azure, so we already have a one auto resolve integration runtime. So I hope you got the idea. Yeah, that's it in this. So thanks. Hello everyone. So in this particular video, we are going to understand about the serverless SQL pool, as well as with practically we are going to see how actually we can query a CSV data that is available in a Azure Data Lake storage using a serverless SQL pool. This is the practical we are going to do. So we have a ADLS location, data lake storage. In this data lake storage, we have a CSV file available. What actually we will do, we will try to query this data with the help of the SQL pool, with the help of the serverless SQL pool. So with practically we are going to see. So let's first understand what is a serverless SQL pool. A serverless SQL pool is a feature within Azure Synapse Analytics that allows you to run SQL query on data stored in Azure Data Lake or blob storage without the need to provision or manage a dedicated resource. What does it mean? So with the help of the serverless SQL pool, what actually we can do, whatever the data is available in a blob storage or the Azure Data Lake storage, right, we can directly query with the help of the serverless SQL pool. In this case, in the case of the serverless, we don't need to maintain any kind of the infrastructure. Means you do not have to maintain any kind of the infrastructure. Means everything will handle by the Azure itself. Everything will be handled by the Azure itself. You do not need to maintain any kind of the infrastructure for the SQL pool. What you have to do, whatever the query you are writing, right, whatever the query you are writing, for that query only you have to pay. For that query only you have to pay. So that is the use of the serverless SQL pool. In the case of the serverless, you do not have to maintain any kind of the infrastructure. Everything will be handled by the Azure itself. And whatever the query you will write, right, whatever the query, complex query you are executing, only for those query you have to pay. Means on demand, whenever you require to run any kind of the query for the ad hoc analysis or anything, what actually you can do, you can directly use a serverless, and for that query only you have to pay. In the case of the dedicated, right, what actually we have to do, we have to maintain the infrastructure, and if you are using or if you are not using, then also you have to pay for that. But in the case of the serverless, whenever we require for the analysis, we will use a serverless SQL pool, and only for those query which we are executing, we have to pay for that. So that is the use of the serverless SQL pool. Now let's see how actually we can query a CSV data that is available in a Azure Data Lake storage. So I have opened Azure Synapse Studio. So I'll go to the home tab. In this home tab, if you come to this data, right, so one Azure Data Lake storage is already created, is already associated with this particular Azure Synapse. So whenever you will create a Azure Synapse workspace, right, by default Azure Data Lake storage you had to create, and that will be associated with this Azure Synapse workspace. So you can see in a link, right, I am coming to this data. If I'll go to the link, you can see Azure Data Lake storage. I can see that. Now in this Azure Data Lake storage, we have created a one container also. We have created one container. This is the container. If I'll click here, you can see we have a option to upload the file. So what actually we'll do, in this particular container we are going to upload a CSV file. So you have to click on the upload, and the file you have to select. So I will try to upload a file, one employee file I will try to upload. This employee1.csv I will try to upload. You can see employee1.csv we are uploading. Click on the upload. Once you will click on the upload, right, the file is uploaded. Means I have a one ADLS location, ADLS account. In this ADLS I have one of the container. In that container I have uploaded one employee1.csv file. Now if you have to analyze, if you have to run a query, so how actually we can do, with the help of the SQL pool, serverless SQL pool, we can run this. So if I'll go to this manage option, right, if I'll show you the SQL pool, in the SQL pool you can see built-in serverless SQL pool is available. So whenever you create Azure Synapse, right, by default one serverless SQL pool will be created, and this serverless SQL pool we will use for the query. So what I will do, I'll go to the data. This is the file we have uploaded, right. Now if you want to write a SQL script directly, you can click here, or you can come to this develop. In this develop you can open a SQL script. Now I'll go to this data option, a link. I will select the new SQL script. I'll click on the new SQL script. If I select the select top 100 rows, right, so what actually it will do, it will open one SQL script window for me, and by default it will give me the query also. By default it will give me the query. So what actually it is saying, we are writing a SQL code, right, select top 100 store, means we are only looking for the top 100 rows star from this particular location. Now what is this open row set? With the help of open row set, what actually we can do, we can directly query the Azure Data Lake storage account whatever the data is available. Like suppose your CSV file is there, so you have to mention the CSV and you can directly query whatever the data is available in a Azure Data Lake storage itself. We are writing a SQL code and we are querying the data which is available in our data lake storage account. So that is the advantage we get. Now we have created one SQL script, we have a query also available. Now if you have to run, right, how actually you can run, you have to run with the help of the some sources. So built in is nothing but this is a serverless SQL pool which is created whenever we have created a Synapse account, right. Serverless SQL pool already got created, that is a built-in. With the help of this we can query that. Now before to that, let's first understand this open row set and what is this bulk. Bulk is nothing but this is a data, this is our data. If I'll show you, so where is our data available? If I'll click on this here, right, this is our data. Now in this data, if I'll go to the properties, right, if I'll go to the properties, you will see one URL. So this URL we have to copy and that URL only we have to mention, and that URL only we have to mention in the script. So I'll go to the SQL script. This is the URL we have to mention in the bulk. Now what is the format? Format is a CSV and this is the parse version as a result. Now if I'll execute, let's see whether we are able to read or not. So you can see it is running. So we are using a serverless SQL pool to run the query with the data which is available in our data lake storage account. So you can see I am able to run this, and able to get the data. But you can see it, the first row should be a header, right, but it is not considering the header, it is creating a header itself. So what actually we can do here, comma, you can mention header row equal to the true, header row equal to the true. If you'll do now, again if you'll run this, right, you can see now proper header it came, header it came, and we are able to read the data. So like that you can query a data directly in a ADLS location with the help of the serverless SQL pool. Any kind of the query you want to write, you can do that. Suppose I want to do based on the employee ID, what is the salary, means based on the address, I want to see what is the their highest salary. So what I will write, select address, I want to do based on each address what is their total salary. So I'll write sum of salary, sum of salary, salary is a column, and what actually I want to do, I want to group by address, in a group U is missing, group. So this is a SQL query I have written. Now if I'll execute this, right, based on address it will give the total salary. You can see in India we have a total salary, in USA we have a this many total salary. So I hope you got the idea how actually we can directly query the data which is available in ADLS location with the help of the serverless SQL pool. Hello everyone. So in previous video we have seen like how actually we can query a CSV data using a serverless SQL pool. In this video we are going to see if you have a JSON file and that JSON file you want to query using a serverless SQL pool, how actually you can do that, actually we are going to see in this particular video. So I have this particular JSON file, one of the JSON file which is available. Now to query what actually we were using a open row set, right. In this open row set we were mentioning the what is the JSON file path, and after that the format we were mentioning. That's how actually we were mentioning in a CSV, right. In a JSON also we had to mention the same. You had to use a select top 10 star, and after that open row set you have to mention the file path, the but format still you have to mention the CSV, because this open row set has been built to read the data which is available in a ADLS location, like to read the CSV file. But for the specific JSON, right, JSON, it can't directly read the JSON. So what actually it do, it with the help of this field terminator, right, actually with the help of this condition, it tried to convert this JSON into a CSV and it tried to read. So for us, what actually we had to mention, we had to still mention the format as a CSV, we had to mention the field terminator and the field code, and we had to query. Let's do a practical, let's understand. So I open my Azure Synapse. What I will do, I'll go to the data. In the data, we have a data lake storage and we have one of the container. So we already uploaded the CSV file, right? Now what actually we'll do, we'll try to upload a one JSON file. So I will open that. So I have created one covid.json file. This is the file I have created. Try to upload this, and if I'll show you, this looks like this. This is the data we have. Now this actually we want to read. So what actually I will do, I have open this. Now what I will do, I will create one SQL script. If you want to query, right, what you have to do, you have to right click, you can see new SQL script. So select top 100 rows, it will directly give you the SQL script. So you can see it already know like this is a JSON, so it given you the JSON script. So what actually it is saying, select top 100 JSON content, and what actually it is saying, we are using open row set so that we can we can query in our ADLS directly. Bulk, it is saying the what is the file path. So file path we have to mention, how we'll get the file path. So for that you have to go into the data. So in a COVID property, this is the URL, right, this is nothing but a file path. So that you have to do, come to the SQL script. Bulk, you have to mention that. Format, still we have to mention CSV even though it is a JSON, because JSON directly it doesn't support open row set, so that's why CSV we have to mention. To read the JSON, we had to use this field code, the field terminator, so that we can use the JSON file. So this script directly it will be generated, it will give you auto generated code. Now let's try to execute. Once we'll execute, right, it is giving some error. Let's try to run again. Now it is giving properly. Now here you can see we have a one JSON content which we are reading, right? Now if you want to read the specific column, so how actually we can read the specific column? So for that, what you have to use, you have to use like this, JSON value comma JSON value. Suppose you want to read this date represent, right? So dollar dot date rep you have to mention. Similarly, any other column you have to mention, right? This JSON value you have to use, and you have to use that comma. Suppose you want to read any other column. So suppose this year I want to read, so I will use a dollar dot year as header. Now if I run, you can see JSON content give me the whole JSON, it is able to read, and for the specific column you want to read, right, like this with the help of the JSON value we can read that. Like JSON value you have to convert into the proper JSON, so for that you have to use a JSON value. From this JSON content, dollar dot specific column you have to mention, and from there you can read the specific column. So that's how we had to read the JSON. It's little bit tricky, but you have to practice this. So I will copy this code and I will give you also. I hope you got that. Hello everyone. So in this particular video, we are going to learn about the dedicated SQL pool. So in previous video, we have learned about the serverless SQL pool. In the case of the serverless SQL pool, what was happening? We were not actually provisioning any kind of the computation. So suppose you have a data. This data, if you have to analyze, how actually you will analyze this data? You will write some kind of the query, right? Now for this query, whatever the auto scaling and whatever the processing is required, that was handling by Azure itself. In the case of the serverless SQL pool, means we were not provisioning any kind of the compute, like how many computation is required to process this data for any kind of the analysis in the case of the serverless SQL pool. But in the case of the dedicated SQL pool, right? But in the case of the dedicated, by the name itself you can understand, dedicated means we will specify like how many computation is required. Means we will specify this many computation is required to analyze the data, whatever the data which is available, and for that only we had to pay the money. In the case of the serverless, what actually was happening, whatever the query you will write, right, for that query only you had to pay. But in the case of the dedicated, whatever the compute you have defined initially, right, whatever the compute you have defined initially, even though you are using or not using, for that also you had to pay. So that is the main difference you have to understand. In the case of the serverless SQL pool, whatever the query you are writing, whatever for the analysis, right, in that case only you have to pay the money. But in the case of dedicated, we will define the computation, what computation we want, and even though you are using or not using, you have to pay that money. Means we have to pay the fixed amount for that, whatever the computation you have already defined. So that is the main difference you have to understand. So let's understand dedicated SQL pool, formerly known as a SQL data warehouse in a Azure Synapse Analytics. It is a provision data warehouse resource that you manage in terms of performance and cost. Means we define a computation, even though we are using or not using, we have to pay for that. So we manage in terms of the performance and the cost. You allocate a specific amount of compute measured in a DWU, data warehouse unit, to run a query and store a data. In the case of computation, we define a DWU, means data warehouse unit, actually we define as for the run the query. So we allocate a specific amount of computation, like what will be the data warehouse unit to process any kind of the data, means whatever the query we are writing, right, for the analysis purpose, for that computation is required. So we specify, we allocate a specific amount of data warehouse in the case of the dedicated SQL pool. In the case of the serverless, it was not required. So that is the main difference that you have to remember. Now let's understand few key feature. Provision, compute, and the storage. Means you pay whether it is used or not. That is the main feature. Means we provision the computation and the storage in the case of the dedicated SQL pool. It is best for the large scale consistent performance. It supports the MPP, massive parallel processing, for the fast querying. Means we define the specific data warehouse unit, right? The what actually it happen, we try to process a data in a parallelly, so it is a faster. Data is distributed across a multiple node for a performance. So what generally happen, data actually distributed across a nodes, and in that node only the processing happens. That's why it make it as a very high performance, and we get a faster result in the case of the dedicated SQL pool. So I hope you got the idea what is a dedicated SQL pool. In the dedicated SQL pool, we specify a compute, we allocate a compute, like what will be the data warehouse unit is required for the processing, and in the case of the dedicated SQL pool, whatever the process is, right, the data generally divide into the multiple node, and the parallel processing happens, and this makes our query faster. So I hope you got the idea about the dedicated SQL pool. In next video, we will learn how actually we can create a dedicated SQL pool in Azure Synapse. Hello everyone. So in this video, we are going to see how actually we can create a dedicated SQL pool. So I open my Azure Synapse Workspace. I will go to the data. In this data, you can see we have a link. I can see my Data Lake storage account. Now to create a dedicated SQL pool, what you have to do, go into the manage, and here you can see SQL pool. So by default, the built-in SQL pool, serverless SQL pool is already available. Now what we have to do, we have to create a dedicated SQL pool. So for that, what you have to do, click on the new. Now you can see once you click on the new, right, it is saying like what dedicated SQL pool details. What is the dedicated SQL pool name? First you have to write. I will give the testing something I will give. You can give any name, and you can see these are the different performance level. Whether you need a DW 2000, what is DW? Data warehouse unit. If you can see, if I am selecting DW 2000, so I have to pay 24 USD per hour. If I'll use 1000, and then I have to pay 12 USD. If I'll increase that, based on that I have to pay that. So we have to specify what actually we need. So whatever will be the lower, right? So DW100C, I will use that 1.2, and for that I have to use 1.2 USD. And after that, what you have to do, click on the next. In the previous, this is the data warehouse unit we are specifying for the our performance, and for that only you have to pay, whether you are using or not using, for that also you have to pay. After that, you can see if you want to use existing data, like any backup you want or any restore point you want, I will go with the none as of now. Now we have to define the collation. What is a collation? It defines the rule that sort and compare the data and cannot be shared after data warehouse creation. The default collation is this many. So we will go ahead with the by default, and if you need any kind of the backup for the existing data, and that also you can select here, but we will not do. Tags, if you want to do, you can do that, and you can see you can review everything. 1.2 USD, click on the create. So you can see it is submitting the deployment. So let's wait it to be completed, and we will try to run a query also. Let's wait it first to be completed. So you can see built-in serverless, it is already online. So whenever we create Azure Synapse, we know, right, serverless already get created. But if you are working in any e-commerce or retail company, right, there the dedicated data warehouse is required for the processing, for the analysis, where the multiple analysis happen. In there the dedicated SQL pool is required. Dedicatedly we specify how many data warehouse unit we require to process the data. So let's wait it to be completed. Now you can see it is succeed. Now I can see testing this particular SQL pool got created. Now what we'll go to the data. In this data we have one of the storage account which we have created, right? In this container we will see one of the container also. This is the container we have. In this container, what we will do, we'll try to upload one file, and we will try to run with the help of the dedicated SQL pool. Employee CSV upload. You can see it is uploaded. Now we have uploaded a file. Now what actually we will do, we will try to create an external table. Now we have a dedicated data warehouse, dedicated SQL pool, right? Now what I will do, I'll right click and new SQL script, create an external table. Once you click on the create external table, right? By default it will try to give you one table. It will try to give you table based on the CSV file. So we have to specify file type is CSV, field delimiter it is a comma, first row we will go with by default, and after that what we have to do, default type string delimiter we will go with by default. Click on the continue, and you can see select SQL pool. So we will select the dedicated SQL pool which we have created. Database name is testing database. Table name we can give any name. Employee, let's give employee. Using SQL script, click on the open SQL script. This is the one SQL script it has given, and it is connected to the our dedicated SQL pool. Database is testing database. Now what we'll do, we'll try to run it. Click on the run. Once you will run it, right, you can see 0 row affected, 0 row affected. One table will be created. So you can see at the last we have given select star from the employee table. So one table actually got created. Now if you'll execute only this table, right, so the table will execute and it will give you the result. You can see this table, whatever the value is there, right, so that is available. So like that actually we can create our own table. So whatever the file you are uploading, right, into the data, what you have to do, you just have to go into your data, go to the link, whatever the file you are uploading, right click, click on the create external table, and this process only you have to follow, and based on that table will be created, and based on that table actually you can write any kind of the query. So I hope you got the idea how to create a dedicated SQL pool and how to run the query. Hello everyone, so in this particular video we are starting a Spark in Azure Synapse. So till now we have seen like how actually we can create a SQL pool in Azure Synapse Workspace. We have seen about the serverless SQL pool, and we have also seen about the dedicated SQL pool. Now we are starting a Spark in Azure Synapse Workspace. So when we say Spark, right, either you are using a Databricks or either you are using a Azure Synapse or any kind of the notebook where you can write a PySpark code, in all the places the Spark code, Spark concept will be same. Spark concept will be same. What generally we do in a Spark? We try to process our data. Suppose you have a big data, very big data. Now this big data, if you want to process, so what actually we do, we try to take a multiple machine. This multiple machine, what actually we call it as a cluster. So with the help of the multiple machine, we try to process our data in memory. So in Spark, what actually we do, whatever the large size of data we have, right, we try to process the data in parallelly in a multiple machine in a memory. So the concept will be same for the Spark. So let's first understand in this video what is a Spark, how Spark works, and what are the feature of the Spark. In next video we will see how actually we can create a Spark pool in a Azure Synapse Workspace. So let's understand. So what is Spark? Spark is nothing but it is a general purpose in memory computation engine. Now let us try to understand what is general purpose, what is in memory, and what is computation. Okay, one by one. When we are saying a general purpose, right, what is general purpose? So general purpose means what actually was happening before coming to the Spark, right? Whenever you had to perform any kind of the operation, suppose you had to perform a data cleaning, for that you were having a separate tool, pig. This is one of the tool was available. Suppose you had to write any kind of the query, so for that what actually we were using a Hive. Suppose you had to use any kind of the ML operation, then what actually you will do, you will use a Mahot, that is one of the another library. Similarly, for any kind of the operation there were multiple tools was available, but when the Spark came into the picture, right, with the help of the Spark, each and everything, every operation we can perform or do in a Spark itself. So each and every operation whatever is required to do, we can do in a Spark itself. For taking example, suppose you want to perform a data cleaning, you can do in a Spark itself. If you have to write any kind of the code, you can use a Spark SQL. If you have to perform any kind of the machine learning application, for that also you can use a Spark ML lib. So for each and everything you do not have to depend on the any kind of the tool. In a Spark itself you can perform all the kind of the operation. That's why we call it as a general purpose. Now let us try to understand the next thing, computation. What is computation means? Computation means what actually was happening when we'll try to compare with the Hadoop. Most of the time people try to compare with the Hadoop versus Spark, but we do not have to do the comparison between the Hadoop versus Spark. Hadoop provide three components. If you'll see, Hadoop provide three components. First is the HDFS, that is for the storage, and the second is the resource manager, and the third is the map reduce. So this map reduce in a Hadoop we were using for the computation. If you had to execute or if you have to process it for the computation, we were using the map reduce in the case of the Hadoop. But when we say Spark is a general purpose in memory computation engine, right? So we do not have to compare the Spark with the Hadoop, we have to compare with the Spark with the map reduce, because Spark is mainly used for the computation only. So that is the thing we have to remember. Spark we generally use for the computation, not for the other purpose. So that is the thing. Even you can use a Spark with the HDFS, you can use a Spark with the other resource manager. So that is kind of the thing we have to remember. Even if you want to use Spark with HDFS, you can use that. If you want to use any other storage service, suppose Amazon S3, that also you can use it. Any kind of the storage you can use that, but for the computation we generally use a Spark. That is the thing we have to remember, and that is mean by the computation. Now the third thing is like in memory. Now let us try to understand what is in memory. In memory is nothing but it is a RAM. You have to understand by the RAM. For taking example, Spark does all computation in memory. That is nothing but a RAM only, and that's why Spark is faster than MapReduce, and this is what people say. Now let us try to understand how Spark is faster than the MapReduce and how actually the process actually happens. So first let us try to understand with the MapReduce. For taking example, in the case of the MapReduce, how actually was happening, suppose you have a data that is available in a HDFS. Suppose this is a HDFS location, and suppose this is your multiple MapReduce task is available, and how actually the computation happen, let us try to understand. So this is the HDFS location where your the file is available, and this is the multiple MapReduce task is available, MR1, MR2 and all. Now in the case of the MapReduce, how the process happens, first it will try to take an input from the HDFS, that is the one time of a input task. Once it will process, again it will write into the HDFS. In the same case of the MapReduce 2 task, again it will take an input, again it will write. So multiple time input and output happens in the case of the MapReduce, and input and output multiple time when you are hitting the disk, right, and that is a very slow process. So that's why it is a slow. As now let us try to understand in the case of the Spark how actually it happens. In the case of the Spark, how actually it happens, suppose you have a multiple multiple tasks. So what actually will happen, first time it will take a input, it will do a computation and it will write into the memory only. Second time again it will not hit the HDFS. From in memory whatever the output, right, again you have to process, again it will take the it from the second job only. Suppose this is the V1. After doing the process, it will not write to the HDFS. What actually it will do, it will write into the in memory only, and again it will try to process. Once it will complete all the operation, then only it will try to write it to the HDFS location. Only two times input output disk operation happens in the case of the Spark, but in the case of the MapReduce, multiple time we hit into the disk. That's why it is slow. I hope you got it. That's why Spark is faster than the MapReduce. So that is the thing you have to remember. So what is Spark? Spark is nothing but it is a general purpose in memory computation engine, you have to remember. And we have discussed about what is a general purpose in memory computation and all. I hope you got. Now let's try to discuss about the benefits of the Apache Spark. So there are many benefits we get in Apache Spark as compared to the MapReduce. The first one is the fast. It is faster than the MapReduce, 100 times faster than the MapReduce, because it try to process our data in a in memory. That's why it is a faster. In the case of the MapReduce, because the multiple input and output operation is required, that's why it was slow. But in the case of the Spark, in memory only we try to process our data, that's why it is a faster. Because of the in-memory caching optimized query execution, Spark can run fast analytics query against the data of any size. So that is the benefits of the Apache Spark. It is faster than the MapReduce. The second benefits we get is developer friendly. In Apache Spark, generally it supports a multiple API like the Java, Scala, R and Python, and the multiple language it supports. And this API actually makes our life easy. For any developer, it's try to make our life easy. We do not have to worry about the complexity of the distributing processing behind. We only can write any kind of the Python, Java, Scala, R, and we can use the library of that. That's why it makes the developer friendly. So that is the another benefits we get. Now third is the multiple workload. Apache Spark comes with the ability to run multiple workload, include interactive query, real-time analytics, machine learning, graph processing, and one application can combine multiple workloads seamlessly. So that is the third benefit. So it is a faster, it is a developer friendly, it support the multiple workload. These are the benefits of the Apache Spark. So I hope you got the idea, and that's it in this video. Hello everyone. So in this particular video we are going to understand how actually we can create a Spark pool in Azure Synapse Workspace. What is a Spark pool? So Spark pool, you understand it like a one cluster. One cluster. What is a cluster? Cluster is nothing but it is a group of machine to process a data. Now suppose you have a very large data set. Now this large data set, on top of this you are applying some kind of the transformation. You are applying some kind of the transformation. So for the transformation you have written one PySpark code. Now to execute this PySpark code, you will require a cluster so that you can execute and you can process the large data, right? So this cluster is nothing but is kind of the Spark pool, you can understand. It's nothing but a Spark pool. So let's see how actually we can create a Spark pool in a Azure Workspace. Let me open my Azure. So I open my Azure account. In this Azure, I have already created a Synapse workspace. So I will search for the Synapse. How to create a Synapse we have already covered in a previous video. So this is the Synapse account we have already created. Now once you will create a Synapse workspace, right? The built-in serverless will already be created. This already we know. In the top you can see new dedicated SQL pool, new Apache Spark. So we can create a Spark pool from here. The second way is like once you will come to the once you'll open the Synapse Studio, right? In the Synapse Studio, go to the manage. You can see Apache Spark pool. Here also we can create a Apache Spark pool. You can see new Apache Spark pool. From here also you can create, and the backside also from here also you can create a new Apache Spark pool. So how to create? Click on the new Apache Spark pool. Once you will click on the create, right, you have to first give the Apache Spark pool name. So I will give name as a compute something. This is just a name, you can give any name. Now after that we have to select the node size. What is the node size? So we'll go with the smallest one because we are just doing a practice, right? Now after that auto scale. So if you want to auto scale, right, if suppose you are processing very large data, then automatically your node size should increase, the auto scale should happen, then you can enable it, otherwise you can disable it because we are doing a practice, right? So I am just doing disabled. And what is the number of node? I will select the 3. 3 is a lesser one, so I am selecting a 3. If you select the auto scale, so you can see 3 node to the 10 node you will get in auto scaling, or you can increase that also. Like suppose you want 3 to 200, that also is possible. So as of now we are deselecting the auto scale and we are going with the number of node as a 3 because we are doing a practice. Dynamically allocate executor, we will disable it, and based on that you can see estimate price 1.71 USD we are getting based on this configuration. Click on the next. You can say automatic pausing, after 15 minutes if it is idle, right, this will automatically pause. This cluster will be automatically pause. So that is the setting, and rest setting we will go with by default. Allow session level package, we'll just disable it. Click on the next. Click on the next. Now after that all the selection you can see, and we'll click on the create. Now our Spark pool initialize deployment is initialized. We'll wait for it to complete. You can see deployment is completed. Our Spark pool is already completed. So one Spark pool actually got created. If you click on the Azure Synapse workspace again, one Spark pool we have created, right? The Spark pool will show here. You can see Apache Spark pool in the bottom yet. You can see compute. This is the cluster we have created. Now coming to this Synapse Studio, click on the open. It will open a new workspace. Now go to the home. So we have seen like all the SQL related stuff we were doing into this data option. In a develop option, right? If we'll come here, if we'll click on the notebook, so this will be the similar to the notebook what we have in a Databricks also, right? So here also you can write any kind of the PySpark code. So you can see here we are getting an option one attached to a select Apache Spark pool. So if you had to execute any code, right? So for that you will require a Spark pool. So we have already created one cluster. This is a compute. The name is compute, and we have selected the 3 node cluster. So we will select that so that we can execute our code. As of now you can see this cluster is not yet started, so it is showing a not started, no active session. And after that we can select any Python or any PySpark code. So you can see we can write Spark SQL code, we can write a PySpark code, we can write a Scala code or a Spark R code also we can write. Now let me write a simple code. Let me just write a 1 plus 3. Let's start our cluster, let's see whether it's working or not. So you can see our cluster is started. You can see it is running, right? Our cluster is started. It will take few minutes to start the session. Now till then what actually we'll do, we'll write a one PySpark code, one data frame we will create, and we will try to see how actually we can execute our PySpark code. So what I will do, I will create one data frame. So first I will define a data. In a data, what I will write? I will write one Manish, comma, two Rahul. This is the data we have. This is the data I am defining, to Rahul. Now what actually I will do, I will create a one column. Column name I want to give ID as well as the name. Now how to create a data frame? So I will write df equal to the spark dot create data frame. Spark dot create data frame will pass the data as well as a column which we have defined here. Now let's see whether our cluster is ready or not. It is still waiting, so we have to wait for some more time to be executed. So what actually we have done till that, we have defined one data, we have defined one column, we are creating one data frame, spark.create data frame, we are passing the data and we are passing the column. Now if you want to see the data frame, how actually you can see, if you will write df.show, you will be able to see the data frame also. So we have to execute this. So for that we have to wait for our cluster to be ready. So you can see it is still waiting mode. So let's wait it to be start. Now you can see it is started and it's running also. You can see we are getting a result, right? It ran successfully. Now this PySpark code we have written, right? This let me try to execute this data frame whether it's running or not. Now you can see this also executed. We can see one data frame we have created, right? And one ID column got created, one name column got created. Now this data frame, if you want to convert into the temporary view of, or if you want to run any SQL command, so how actually we can do? If I write df dot create or replace temp view, I'm going to create one temporary view. So the temp view name is employee. This is the what I am creating. Now if I'll write any SQL code, if I'll write select star from EMP, now if you'll execute, you may get one error, select star EMP, because we have selected the PySpark, right? Now if I select the Spark SQL here, now if I try to execute this select star from EMP, you can see it is running, and you can see ID and name. So whatever the data frame we have created, right, we have converted into one view, and now we are able to write any kind of the Spark SQL code also. So like that we can create a notebook and we can execute any kind of the PySpark code. So you can write any kind of the PySpark code and you can execute. Hello everyone. So in this particular video we are going to understand how actually we can create a Spark pool in Azure Synapse Workspace. What is a Spark pool? So Spark pool, you understand it like a one cluster. One cluster. What is a cluster? Cluster is nothing but it is a group of machine to process a data. Now suppose you have a very large data set. Now this large data set, on top of this you are applying some kind of the transformation. You are applying some kind of the transformation. So for the transformation you have written one PySpark code. Now to execute this PySpark code, you will require a cluster so that you can execute and you can process the large data, right? So this cluster is nothing but a kind of the Spark pool, you can understand. It's nothing but a Spark pool. So let's see how actually we can create a Spark pool in Azure Workspace. Let me open my Azure. So I open my Azure account. In this Azure, I have already created a Synapse Workspace. So I will search for the Synapse. How to create a Synapse we have already covered in a previous video. So this is the Synapse account we have already created. Now once you will create a Synapse workspace, right? The built-in serverless will already be created. This already we know. In the top you can see new dedicated SQL pool, new Apache Spark. So we can create a Spark pool from here. The second way is like once you will open the Synapse Studio, right? In the Synapse Studio, go to the manage. You can see Apache Spark pool. Here also we can create a Apache Spark pool. You can see new Apache Spark pool. From here also you can create, and the backside also from here also you can create a new Apache Spark pool. So how to create? Click on the new Apache Spark pool. Once you will click on the create, right, you have to first give the Apache Spark pool name. So I will give name as a compute something. This is just a name, you can give any name. Now after that we have to select the node size. What is the node size? So we'll go with the smallest one because we are just doing a practice, right? Now after that auto scale. So if you want to auto scale, right, if suppose you are processing very large data, then automatically your node size should increase, the auto scale should happen, then you can enable it, otherwise you can disable it, because we are doing a practice, right? So I am just doing disabled. And what is the number of node? I will select the 3. 3 is a lesser one, so I am selecting a 3. If you select the auto scale, so you can see 3 node to the 10 node you will get in auto scaling, or you can increase that also. Like suppose you want 3 to 200, that also is possible. So as of now we are deselecting the auto scale and we are going with the number of node as a 3 because we are doing a practice. Dynamically allocate executor, we will disable it, and based on that you can see estimate price 1.71 USD we are getting based on this configuration. Click on the next. You can say automatic pausing, after 15 minutes if it is idle, right, this will automatically pause, this cluster will be automatically paused. So that is the setting. And rest setting we will go with by default. Allow session level package, we'll just disable it. Click on the next. Click on the next. Now after that all the selection you can see, and we'll click on the create. Now our Spark pool initialize deployment is initialized. We'll wait for it to complete. You can see deployment is completed. Our Spark pool is already completed. So one Spark pool actually got created. If you click on the Azure Synapse Workspace again, one Spark pool we have created, right? The Spark pool will show here. You can see Apache Spark pool in the bottom yard. You can see compute. This is the cluster we have created. Now coming to this Synapse Studio, click on the open. It will open a new workspace. Now go to the home. So we have seen like all the SQL related stuff we were doing into this data option. In a develop option, right? If we'll come here, if we'll click on the notebook, so this will be the similar to the notebook what we have in a Databricks also, right? So here also you can write any kind of the PySpark code. So you can see here we are getting an option one attached to a select Apache Spark pool. So if you had to execute any code, right? So for that you will require a Spark pool. So we have already created one cluster. This is a compute. The name is compute, and we have selected the 3 node cluster. So we will select that so that we can execute our code. As of now you can see this cluster is not yet started, so it is showing a not started, no active session. And after that we can select any Python or any PySpark code. So you can see we can write Spark SQL code, we can write a PySpark code, we can write a Scala code or a Spark R code also we can write. Now let me write a simple code. Let me just write a 1 plus 3. Let's start our cluster, whether let's see whether it's working or not. So you can see our cluster is started. You can see it is running, right? Our cluster is started. It will take few minutes to start the session. Now till then what actually we'll do, we'll write a one PySpark code, one data frame we will create, and we'll try to see how actually we can execute our PySpark code. So what I will do, I will create one data frame. So first I will define a data. In a data, what I will write, I will write a one Manish, comma, two Rahul. This is the data we have. This is the data I am defining, to Rahul. Now what actually I will do, I will create a one column. Column name I want to give ID as well as the name. Now how to create a data frame? So I will write df equal to the spark dot create data frame, spark.create data frame will pass the data as well as a column which we have defined here. Now let's see whether our cluster is ready or not. It is still waiting, so we have to wait for some more time to be executed. So what actually we have done till that, we have defined one data, we have defined one column, we are creating one data frame, spark.create data frame, we are passing the data and we are passing the column. Now if you want to see the data frame, how actually you can see, if you will write df.so, you will be able to see the data frame also. So we have to execute this. So for that we have to wait for our cluster to be ready. So you can see it is still waiting mode. So let's wait it to be start. Now you can see it is started and it's running also. You can see we are getting a result, right? It ran successfully. Now this PySpark code we have written, right? This let me try to execute this data frame whether it's running or not. Now you can see this also executed. We can see one data frame we have created, right? And one ID column got created, one name column got created. Now this data frame, if you want to convert into the temporary view of, or if you want to run any SQL command, so how actually we can do? If I write df dot create or replace temp view, I'm going to create one temporary view. So the temp view name is employee. This is the what I am creating. Now if I'll write any SQL code, if I'll write select star from EMP, now if you'll execute, you may get one error select star EMP because we have selected the PySpark, right? Now if I select the Spark SQL here, now if I try to execute this select star from EMP, you can see it is running and you can see ID and name. So whatever the data frame we have created, right, we have converted into one view and now we are able to write any kind of the Spark SQL code also. So like that we can create a notebook and we can execute any kind of the PySpark code. So you can write any kind of the PySpark code and you can execute. Hello everyone, so in this particular video we are going to see about the data integration activity in Azure Synapse Workspace. We are going to see how actually we can create a data pipeline using a Azure Synapse Workspace. So that actually we are going to see. So before to the Azure Synapse Workspace, we have also covered the Azure Data Factory videos. In Azure Data Factory videos, we have covered a different kind of the pipeline, different kind of the activity, different kind of the data flow we had done, right? Like for examples, how actually we can perform a copy activity, how actually we can perform a delete activity, how to use a web activity, how to use a store procedure activity. Like that the multiple activities we have covered and based on that we were creating a pipeline. Suppose you have a data in a multiple source, how actually you will copy a data into the single storage. This kind of the activity we have already done in Azure Data Factory. Now in a Synapse Workspace also you can do the same kind of the activity. Means all the kind of the activities available in Azure Synapse Workspace also. So let me show you. So I have opened my Azure Synapse Workspace. In the Azure Synapse Workspace you can see this is the home tab. If you'll go after data tab, develop tab, we have option for the integrate tab. Click on the integrate tab, click on the plus. You can see we have option for the pipeline. So click on the pipeline. Now this actually you can see this all the things were available in Azure Data Factory also, right? Synapse is a new one, but move and transform, like we have a copy, we have a data flow, and similarly we also have this all the activity which was available in a data factory, like the append variable, delete, execute, wait, webhook, web activity. All the activity we have already covered in Azure Data Factory. So here also you can perform the same kind of the activity. Extra is a Synapse. In the Synapse you can see multiple notebooks are there. So suppose you have created any kind of the notebook and that you want to trigger it, so you can drag that notebook and you can trigger it. So that's kind of the possibility also is there. Now what actually we'll do, we will create one copy data. We'll see how actually it will work. So I will use a copy data. What actually I will do, I have a storage account, so I will go to the Microsoft Azure. I have a ADLS location. I'll go to the storage account. This is the storage account I have created, ADLS. In a data storage, if I show you, I have a container. So I have a two container. One is the input. I will create another container, that is the output. It should be small output container. I'll create that. Now what I will do, if I'll go here in Azure Synapse Workspace, we'll go to the data, right? In a data linked, you can see that workspace. We have created a two container, right? That two container you should be able to see here, input and the output. So what I will do, in a input, I will upload one of the CSV file, and what actually we'll do, we'll create a one pipeline that will convert this CSV file into JSON file and upload into the output folder. I'll try to upload this. First we will upload the file. Where is our file? So let's select that. This employee.csv will select that. Click on the upload. So input only we have a employee1.csv. Now what I will do, I'll go to the integrate. This is the pipeline, right? First I will select the source. For the source, first we have to create a data set, right? So click on the data set. Click on the data set. We'll select the data set. Where our data is available, our data is available in a data lake storage, right? So we'll select the data lake. Click on the continue. Our file is CSV file, so we'll select that. We'll create one link service. So let's click on the new. Let's select the subscription. Let's select the storage account. And what I will do, I will try to test the connection. Connection is successful. Click on the create. We have created one a link service so that we will be able to access the data lake. So same step which we were following in Azure Data Factory, here also we have to do. Now after that, file path, where our file is available. File is available in this particular location, so I select the file path. First row is header. Click on the OK. Now our source is ready. Now what we'll do, we want to copy this into the sync location, right? Data set location. So where you want to copy? So I want to copy in this location, Azure Data Lake storage only. If you want to load into the SQL database, that also you can select, but we want to load into the data lake storage only. Click on the continue. We want to load as a JSON. We'll select the same link service. File path we have to select where you want to upload. I want to upload in output. As of now, no file is available in output. Click on the OK. Now our source is ready, sync is ready. Now what I will do, I will just try to click on the publish all. Click on the publish. You can see it is publishing. Now after that we can trigger it or we can schedule it, like how actually we were doing, right? The same kind of the activity here also we are doing. So you can see it is publish is completed. What we'll do, we'll click on that trigger now. You click on the trigger now, the pipeline will be triggered. You can see pipeline is running. Now if you have to monitor this, right, go to the monitor option and you can monitor your pipeline. So you can see this is in progress. The pipeline is still running. Now what actually it will do, it will take the CSV file, it will convert into the JSON and it will load into the our output container. So that is the thing we have done. You can see run is succeed also. Now what we will do, we'll go to our storage account. In output, previously no file was there, and now you can see employee1.json. So it converted the file into the JSON. Go to the edit. You can see whatever the file was there, right, it converted into the JSON file. So like that, actually any kind of the data factory pipeline you want to create, right, you can do that. We also have a few more options like the notebook, Spark job definition, Spark pool. This also is we can do. This also will cover. In a notebook, it is simple. Suppose you have written any notebook that you want to execute. That notebook actually you can just you have to drag it and you can run that notebook. So that's how simple it is. So I hope you got it. Hello everyone. So in this particular video, we are going to do one end-to-end Azure data engineering project. In this project, we are going to use Azure Data Factory for the data pipeline. We are going to write a PySpark code. We are going to create a SQL table in a Synapse workspace. And also from the storage perspective, we are going to use a ADLS location. So everything from end to end, the project we are going to do. In this particular project, we have one of the business requirement, and this kind of the business requirement you will see in a company also, and this is a very much important project. Please do practice this. And in this project we are also going to follow the Medallion architecture, which is most widely used in industry. Every industry nowadays using the Medallion architecture to store their data properly. So let's first understand what is a business requirement, and then we will come to this project part. So what actually our business is saying, like, so we are working for the retail clients, we are working for a retail clients. So retail clients is our one of the clients, for that we are working. Now what actually clients wants? Clients wants to have one report on a daily basis, and they want to know what is the total purchase and the total revenue. So what actually business wants from us? So clients wants to know on a daily basis what is the total number of purchase and what is the total revenue. So suppose today is the 1st of June, right? So 1st of June, how many purchases happened? So suppose we have a 200 purchase, and what is the total revenue? Suppose total revenue is a $1,000. So these details they want to know on each day. So on 2nd June, what is the total number of purchase? Suppose 300 purchase. What is the total revenue? Suppose 2000 total revenue. So this particular report actually business wants from us. Now this looks simple, right? But coming to the data. Now first thing is like you have to check whether your data is available or not, whether you have all the data is readily available or not. If this data is already readily available to you in whenever you are working in company, then building this report is very easy. What actually you can do, you can directly write a PySpark code and you can derive this. But the thing is like our data is not readily available in a ADLS location, and so for that first we had to bring the data. And for that what actually we are going to follow, we are going to follow a end to end, we are going to follow a Medallion architecture, which is most widely used in industry. Now let's first understand what is a Medallion architecture. So what is a Medallion architecture? It is a data design pattern that organizes data in a distinct layer. What is a Medallion architecture? It is kind of one of the data design pattern where we store a data in a different layer. One is a bronze layer, one is a silver layer, and third is the gold layer. Each layer represent two stage of data refinement, with higher layer indicate the better data quality. So in a Medallion architecture, what actually we do, we try to store a data in a different kind of layer. One is the bronze layer, second is the silver layer, third is the gold layer. And in the gold layer, right, most in a gold layer you will see a refined data, you will see a refined and the consumed data, and this is the data generally we share with the client. In a bronze layer what generally will happen, all the raw data you will see, all the raw data you will see. In a silver layer you will see the clean data, but in the gold layer, right, you will see the refined data based on the business as this particular layer we create and we share with the clients. Now what is our requirement? Our requirement is this, right? And for that we had to create a gold layer. But before to the gold layer we also had to create a bronze layer, we also had to create a silver layer, and we also had to create a gold layer. Means end to end we are going to see in this particular video. Now let's understand our data. Now what actually it is saying, like our data is available in a REST API. What actually it is saying, like our data is available in a REST API. So we have one of the REST API. This is the REST API. This is the API you say. From a API we are keep on getting the data. Suppose I am a user, I am purchasing anything. Suppose I have done any kind of the purchase. So in this case what is happening, in a API I am capturing this all the details, like what is my customer ID, what is my customer ID, what is my order ID, what is my order ID, what is my transaction ID, what how much amount I have paid. Means this kind of the details actually we are getting, we are capturing from the API. So this data is available in a API whenever any order is happening. Now what we had to do, we had to bring this data into a ADLS. We had to bring this data into a ADLS. So for that what actually we are going to use, we are going to use a data factory. We are going to use a data factory. And in this data factory what actually we'll do, whatever the data is coming in API, right, we'll try to bring into the bronze layer. We'll try to bring into the bronze layer in a ADLS location. In a ADLS location. Now in this API, right, you are getting a data. Suppose if any purchase is happening, then you are getting a data. Suppose any refund is happening, then you are getting a data. Suppose if any cancel is happening, then you are getting a data. Means every data is coming into this API, we are capturing that. Now in a data factory what actually we'll do, because we have to build a report only the purchase level, but in this API we are getting all the data, right? So from this data factory, what actually we'll do, first we will try to get all the data, means all the data we'll try to bring into this branch layer. This we call it as a raw data. This we call it as raw data. So once our data is available in ADLS, right? Now the next step is like we'll create a silver layer. We'll create a silver layer. Now in a silver layer, what actually we will do? We'll try to, from this ADLS, whatever the data we have stored, right? From the purchase, we will filter the data. What actually we'll do? Here we have all the kind of the data, right? In a raw data, in a bronze layer, we have all the kind of the data. So in a silver layer, what actually we'll do, we will only filter the purchase related data, because that is what business is asking to us. So we will filter only the purchase related data. We will try to clean the data. We'll try to drop the null values, means all the kind of the cleaning we will perform in a silver layer. Now after that, what actually we'll do, once we store the data, right, in silver layer, finally we will create a gold layer, that is a final layer. That is a final layer. In a gold layer, what actually we will do, we'll try to create a report. We'll try to create an aggregate report, means on a daily basis, what is the total revenue, and what is the total purchase. This is the report actually we will create in a gold layer, and we will take a reference from the silver layer. So this is how actually we are going to follow. So what actually we'll do, from my API we will bring all the data in a ADLS location, that is a bronze layer. So here we will be having all the kind of the data. Now coming to the second layer, that is the silver layer. So what actually we'll do, here we will try to do some kind of the filtering, specific to the what actually business is asking to us. We'll try to filter the data, we'll try to clean the data in a silver layer. Now in the final layer, in a gold layer, what actually we'll do, so on a daily basis, what is the total number of revenue and what is the total number of purchase, that kind of the report we will create, and we will share it with the partner. So this is the whole project we are going to do. Now in this case, what are the things we are going to use? Because we had to bring the data from a API, we had to bring the data from a API to the ADLS. So what actually I will use? I will use a ADF for that. I will use a Azure Data Factory for that. In a Azure Synapse itself, what actually we can do? We can create a data pipeline, and that data pipeline is nothing but that is a ADF. In ADF, any kind of the data pipeline we create, right? In Azure Synapse also we can create the that kind of the data pipeline. So we'll use a data pipeline for that, to bring the data in a bronze layer. Now after that, we had to write a Spark code for the data cleaning, because we had to clean the data, right? We had to filter our data. So Spark code also will write. So in a Synapse also you can write a Spark code. So Synapse only we are going to use. Now after that, for the gold layer we have to do a aggregation, right? So for that also we will use a Spark code. Now after that, what actually we'll do, we will also create one SQL table, so that, and we will store our gold layer data there. We will store gold layer data there, so that clients can query the data using a SQL query. So this is what actually we are going to do. So we will use a data pipeline ADF. We are going to use a Spark code, and we are going to use a SQL table in a Synapse. So everything you can do in a Synapse itself. Every feature is available. So what actually we'll do, we will create a Synapse workspace, and we'll try to perform each operation one by one. So I hope you got the requirement. What is our requirement is like, we want to have a daily report on a daily basis. What is the total number of purchase, what is the total number of sales is revenue is happening. So that is a business ask. For that we have to follow the Medallion architecture. So let me share my screen and let me open a Azure. So I open my Azure account. So in this Azure account, what actually we are going to do, we are going to create a Synapse workspace. So in a search bar, search for the Synapse. We are going to create Azure Synapse Analytics. So click on the Azure Synapse Analytics here, and after that click on the create. We are going to create a new Azure Synapse Analytics. First we have to create a resource group. So if you haven't created any resource group, what you have to do, click on the create new and give the resource group name, and click on the OK. Resource group will be created. I already have a resource group, so I'll select that. After that, in a workspace name, in the workspace name we are going to provide the what will be our Synapse workspace name. So I will give the name as a POC Synapse Retail, and this is the name I am giving, but you can give any name. with that particular name the Synapse workspace will be created. So this is the workspace name I am giving. After that region I am going to select with the East US2. After that you can see data lake storage account. So if you already have a data lake storage account, from here you can select. I don't have, so I am going to create that. So click on the create new. Here also we have to give the name. I will give the name as a POC retail. This is the Azure Data Lake storage account I am going to create. After that, whatever the container you want to create, right? So you can create that. So click on the create new. Container name I want to create the retail, so that I will select. After that, click on the next security. So whenever we create a Azure Synapse workspace, right? So with that, serverless SQL pool also get created. So for that, if you have to log in, right? So you should have a admin name and the password. So I'm going to give that also. The admin name Manish and the password I will set up so that I can log in that. So this also you also this try to set up. So this SQL password I have set up. Click on the next. Click on the next. Click on the next review and create. Go to the security. I think the password is not matching. So let me give once again. Now it is correct. Now I'll go to the next, next, review and create. You can see whatever the selection you have done, right? Everything you will be able to see here. What actually we'll do, we'll click on the create. Now Azure Synapse workspace will be created. So what actually we are doing, we are creating Azure Synapse workspace, as well as we are also creating the ADLS account. Now whenever you create the Azure Synapse workspace, serverless SQL also gets created. So the three things you are creating at a one time. So that is the thing. Till then, what actually I will do, I'll show you what is our source, how actually our source API looks like. So what actually I have done, I have loaded a file into the GitHub. So if you will see, right, this is the particular file I have, retail transaction bronze.json file. This is the JSON file. In this way actually we are getting a data. Now if you will see what kind of the data we are getting a event ID, we are getting the event type, customer details, what time the events is triggering, what is the payment method, whether it is a credit card, what is the product category, whether it is a electronic, what is the product ID, amount, as well as the location and the status. So this kind of the details we are getting. So you can see, if anyone, suppose I am a customer, I am purchasing anything, so event type will be the purchase. If I am a customer, I am cancelling the purchase, so the event type will be the cancel. Like that the multiple events are getting triggered here. So suppose any refund is happening, I have purchased the product but I want to refund, so the event type will be refund. But from our requirement perspective, what actually we had to do, we had to only consider the event type as a purchase. So if any customer who is doing any purchase, so that kind of the thing only we want. So event type is purchase. So but as of now, from a bronze layer perspective, right, here you can see we are getting all the kinds of the data. So what actually I will do, whatever the data we are getting here, right, as it is, we will try to bring into the our bronze layer. So in a bronze layer, whatever the data we are getting, we will try to bring as it is into the bronze layer. So that is the thing. In a silver layer, we will try to filter based on the purchase. So that is the thing. Now you can see here we have a JSON data, and you understand it like this data is keep on growing. In a whenever you will work in a real time, right, this data you will get, this will keep on growing because in a company, whenever you will work for any clients, right, that clients will have a particular websites, like Amazon is the particular website we have, right? Similarly mobile also we have. So you think like we are working for the Amazon, and whenever any purchase is happening, we are getting this kind of the data, and this is keep on growing. Now what actually I will do, we have to bring this data into our ADLS account. So how actually we can bring that data? So what we have to do, we have to fetch this data from this particular URL, and you have to bring it to the our ADLS account. So what you have to do, click on the raw, this particular raw, and this is the data. This all the data we will try to bring into the our data lake storage account, and this is the URL we will try to bring. So make sure what you do, in a GitHub you upload the file, click on the raw, from this particular URL we will try to bring that. So that is the thing. Let me see whether my Synapse is created or not. You can see still deployment is in progress. So let's wait it to be complete first. Now you can see our deployment is complete. What actually we'll do, we'll click on the go to resource group. If I'll click on the go to resource group, right, this you can see two things got created. One is the Synapse workspace as well as the ADLS account. These two actually got created. First, let's see the our ADLS account. So I'll click on the POC retail, and here you can see in the data storage we have created one container also, that is a retail container. So let's see whether it's created or not. You can see one retail container also got created. Now here only we'll try to bring the data, but what actually I will do, here we will try to create a three directory. One is for bronze, so that all the bronze layer data we will try to keep bronze. This is the one directory I am creating. Now after that I will create another directory. There we will try to bring the silver layer data set. In a medallion architecture we follow the bronze, silver and the gold, right? So that's why we are creating a three, and the third one is the gold. So we are creating a three. One is the bronze, gold and the silver. Now from this particular data, right, whatever the data we are getting, what actually we'll do, we'll try to bring into the bronze layer with the help of the data pipeline. So this is the three we have done. Now what I will do, I'll go into the Synapse. So search for the Azure Synapse Analytics. This is the Synapse workspace we have created. And after that, what we will do, we'll click on the Open Synapse Studio. Click on that. Now if you'll go back, if you can see, we have also created one serverless SQL pool. So whenever you create a Synapse workspace, right, serverless SQL pool also gets created. So that is the thing you have to remember. Now Synapse Studio is opening. Now in the Synapse Studio itself, you can create a data pipeline. You can write a Spark SQL code, means you can write a PySpark code, and you can execute that. So everything is possible here itself. So that's why we are using. Now in the left side you can see, right, we have a integrate. Now go to the integrate, click on the plus, click on the pipeline. Now if you will see, this is similar to the ADF in Azure Data Factory. Whatever the activity we were doing, right, move and the transform, copy data, all the kinds of activity you can do here. It is similar to Azure Data Factory only. Now what we are going to do, we are going to use a copy data, because we had to copy a data from a API to our ADLS account. So we had to copy, right? So that's why I am using a copy data. Click on the source. First we have to create a data set. Click on the new. Now what is our source? Our source is this particular URL, right? From this source we have to bring API. So what actually we'll do, I will search for the HTTP. So from web HTTP we are trying to bring, right? So click on that. Our source is in JSON format, so select that, and after that we'll create a link service. Click on the link. First we have to pass the base URL. So what is a base URL? So if you'll see here, right, this is the particular URL. Now in this URL, till whatever the .com, right, this particular .com till .com, that is a base URL. So that we have to pass into the base URL. So you can see http github user content.com slash this we have to pass into the base URL. And after that, authentication, if you want to have, if you have any authentication, you can pass a username and password, but this is a public, so I will use a anonymous. And after that, click on the test connection. So you can see connection is successful. Click on the create. Now after that, whatever the URL, right, till here, after the .com, whatever the things that we had to pass into the relative URL, this we had to pass into the relative URL. So first we have passed this into the base URL, and this is the relative URL. Now after that, click on the OK. Now our source is ready. Now if you want to preview data, right, click on the preview data. Let's see whether you are able to see that or not. So you can see we are able to fetch the data. I mean our source is ready, and this all we have to bring that. Now after that, sync from where you want to store. I want to store into the data lake, right? So click on the Azure Data Lake Gen 2. Click on the continue. I want to store in the form of Parquet, because Parquet is a widely used format and it is a very useful for the big data analytics perspective. So I'm going to use the Parquet. After that, click on the link service. We are going to create a new link service. I'll select the subscription. I'll select the storage account, and I'll click on the create. This is going to create a ADLS, a link service. Now after that we have to pass the file path, means where you want to store. So you can see file path, right? I want to store into the this particular retail container into the branch folder. So branch folder I want to store. Click on the OK, and after that click on the OK. So it is going to create a into this particular as a Parquet format. It is going to create that. Now if you come here, go to the setting, go to the user property, everything is good, right? Now what actually we'll do, we'll try to run this. We'll try to run this. So if I'll click on the debug, right, the pipeline will start and it will copy a data. That is the one way. The third way is like you can click on the publish all and you can click on the trigger, so the pipeline will run. So I'll do that. I'll click on the debug first. Click on the debug. Let's see if any kind of the error is coming or not. If any error will come, we'll try to resolve it, because whatever we are copying, right, that is a raw data, means any kind of the error can happen here. So we had to make sure we resolve that. So let's see, you can see pipeline status is in progress. Let's wait it to be complete. Now you can see copy data is filled. Let's see how actually we can resolve that. Click on this. What is the error? Let's try to understand. So error is saying like amount, this is the one of column, it contains the invalid values, cannot convert into the integer. So this is a particular column where we have a issue. So for that, what actually we'll do, we'll go to the copy data, go to the mapping, click on the import schema, and here we have a one of the amount column. You can see amount column, and here what actually we'll do, we'll try to select as a decimal. We are getting as in the form of the double, right? So we'll select the double. So this data type I have changed it. Now what actually I'll do, I'll again try to debug it so that the pipeline will start running, and let's see if the error is resolved or not. You can see pipeline status, it is in queue, it is running. So let's wait it to complete. Pipeline is succeed. Now our data should be available in a ADLS account. So how actually you can check that? We'll go to the ADLS account, or one way is like here itself in Azure Synapse Workspace itself, go to the data in a linked, you can see Azure Data Lake storage, and this is the location. This is the storage account we have created, right? This is the retail container. In a retail container we have created a 3 folder, right? Bronze, silver and gold. So you can see this bronze. In this bronze our data should be available. Click on the bronze. You can see multiple folders actually got created. So as of now, we are fine with that. Let's see whether the Parquet file is available or not. That is the important thing. Click on that. You can see this, whatever the transaction data was there, right? The Parquet file is available. This is the one way. The second way is like from here itself, you can go into the ADLS storage account. This is the storage account you have created, right? Go to the container. In a container also, you can see retail. In a bronze layer we have a file. So our file is available. Now what actually we are going to do, we are going to create a silver layer. Now in a silver layer, what actually we are going to do, so what we have done from API, whatever the data was available, we have bring that data into the ADLS account. We have bring the data as it is into the ADLS account. Now the second thing is like we are going to create a silver layer. What is the second thing? We are going to create a silver layer. Silver layer. So from a API we have bring into the bronze layer into the ADLS. Now what actually we'll do, we'll pick this data from this bronze layer. We are going to create this silver layer, and here we will try to filter a data. So what actually our business wants, to know what is the total number of purchase as well as what is the total number of revenue. Now in the data, right, in the data if I'll show you, we are getting a multiple data. You can see all the refund related data is coming, all the cancer related data is coming, means all the kinds of the data we have copied into the bronze layer. But from the business perspective, right, what business wants to know about the purchase. So what actually we'll do, from this bronze layer, right, we'll try to filter a data. We'll take only where the event type is purchase, as well we'll try to do some kind of the, if any kind of the null is there, that we will try to avoid it. So like this we will try to do the data cleaning and we'll try to store into the silver layer data set. So for that, what actually we'll do, we'll use a notebook. In a notebook we'll write a Spark code, and that Spark code actually will try to execute and we'll try to store into the silver data set. So let me open that. So here, right, in a develop option, go to the develop, click on the plus. We are going to create a new notebook. In this notebook, right, you can write any kind of the Spark code. Now to execute that Spark code, you should create one cluster. So the cluster also will create, but I have a one Spark code which I have written. Let me show you so that and we'll try to understand that. So let me copy this. So this is the Spark code I have. Now in this Spark code, what actually I am doing, let's try to understand. I am first importing a library so that I can do a lower, I can do a to date and all. Now what actually I am doing, I am first creating a bronze layer. I am creating one data frame with the help of bronze layer. Now what actually it will do, it will read the Parquet file from the particular location. So this is how actually we can read that. So what actually you have to pass here, you have to pass the storage account here. So how actually you can find, go to the retail, what is your storage account, what is your storage account name. So our storage account name is the POC retail. This is the storage account, right? So select that, go here, and here you can change this as a your storage account. This is the storage account. Now after that, the particular location, right, where your file is available, so that location you have to pass. I am going to create one data frame that will read the file which is available into the bronze layer. So you can see the multiple folder actually got created, right? So what actually I'll do, this particular location we have to pass. So how actually you can do that, click on that, go to the properties, you will get one URL, copy this, come here, what is the URL we are getting, let me copy here, this is the URL. Now whatever the location, right, so our location start from the retail to till this main. So this all the location we will pass, this all the location you copy and you paste into this, from this bronze to till here. So whatever the location, right, whatever location this we have copied, now here this particular location, whatever the folder is available, till that folder you copy that and you paste here. So that's how we are going to create a one data frame. We will be able to read the bronze layer file. So one data frame we have created from the bronze. Now from once we will be able to read this, right, we will try to test this also, but I am explaining you the code. First we have created one data frame, there we are reading a file which is available into the our ADLS location. So this is the code. After that, what actually we'll do, we'll try to filter a data. So we are only interested where the event type is purchase, right? So you can see in a data, right, we are getting all the data, but we have to filter only the where event type is purchase. So I have written a code for that. From a bronze layer, I am going to filter where the column event type is purchase. That is the one thing. Now as well, the customer ID and the amount column, it contain the null value also. So I am going to drop the null value. So whatever the whatever the null value will be there, any value will be there, that I am going to drop that. Now what actually I am going to do, I am going to create one new column, that is a event date, by using a event timestamp. So if I show you the data, we have a one event timestamp. So this is in timestamp format, right? But with the help, I am going to convert this into a proper date with the help of the toDate function. Now I am going to create a one more column, payment method. And in a payment method, if you'll see, right, payment method, it's coming into the not in a proper format. So what actually I am going to do, I am going to convert into the lower, means so that all the column will be in a proper. I am going to create one more column, the amount. And what actually I am going to do, in this amount, right, this properly I am going to convert into a float. So these are the thing I am going to do. These are the cleaning. So in a silver layer, mostly we try to clean the data, we try to make it based on the business needs. Okay, now this we will do, and after that I am just selecting all the column, whatever the column name I am interested, and finally I will write into the which particular location. I have to write into the silver layer data set, right? So I'll go there where I want to see. This is my storage account. In this storage account I have a retail and I have a silver. So what is my storage account name? Storage account name is POC retail. So I'll copy this, and here after the clean write, you write this your storage account, and where you want to store that particular path you have to pass here. So I want to store which particular location, retail and the silver, retail and the silver. So I'll pass retail and the silver. Here I want to store. So what I have written under this storage account, right? We have a one retail container. Under this retail one we have a silver. Here only I want to store that. So retail and the silver I have passed that. That is what I have done. And this code is not required, so this I will remove that. Now we had to test it, we had to run this. How actually we can run that? So for that we should have a cluster so that we will be able to run this. So what we have to do, we have to create a Spark pool. How actually we can do that? So I will come here, I am going to use a Synapse. I'll go to the Synapse workspace, go to the Synapse workspace. This is the Synapse workspace. Come here, you can see new Apache Spark pool. So we are going to create a Spark pool so that we can run. We are going to create a cluster. So click on the new Apache Spark pool. We have to give the Spark pool name. So I am going to give the name as a POC Spark pool. You can give any name. And after that, node size, family, memory optimize. Node size, you select the minimum one because we are doing a practice, right? You have a multiple option, but you select the minimum one. Auto scale, we are not interested in auto scale as of now. And this you make it as a minimum number of node because we are doing a practice. So 3 is the minimum, so that we have selected. Auto scale we have disabled. Allocate executed disabled. You can see estimated price 1.71. Go to the next. After that we have to go into the next. Automate pausing disabled. Apache Spark, you can see these are the configuration. Go down. Allow session level package, go disabled. Cache, we'll make this as a minimum. Next tag, review and the create. This is the Spark pool we are going to create. With the help of that we will try to execute our code. So what actually I will do, I'll just click on the create. Let's wait, still in the review mode. You can see first validation happens, then we have to click on the create. You can see we are submitted the deployment. Once it will complete, right, once our cluster will be ready, then only we will be able to execute our codes. So you can see deployment is in progress. Once this will complete, then only we will be able to run that. So how actually we'll test it? So I'll come here, I'll test it one by one. So this particular code, right? So first I am going to write this code, and I am going to see whether this particular code is running or not. Dot show whether we are able to read the Parquet file which is available in the location or not. First let's try to test it. So for that our cluster should be ready. You can see deployment is complete. Now if you come here, you can see this is the Spark pool is we have to select. This cluster is not started. You can see here not started is writing. How actually you can run this? Shift and enter if you'll press right. This Spark pool will start running. You can see it is running now. we have to wait for few minutes because the session, whenever the session starts, right, it generally takes time, and also we are taking a very less resources to execute this. And you can write any kind of the code. You can see here PySpark, Spark SQL, Spark R, all the kind of the code you can write. So we have written this. Once we will be able to read the branch data frame, right, then we can write this. We will execute this and we'll see whether we are able to dump the file into the silver layer or not. So that is the thing. So let's wait it to complete. Now you can see our cluster is ready. Now it will start running. So let's wait. So you can see we are getting error. So here you can see we have passed the double slash. Let me remove that and let me execute again. Shift and enter if you'll do, it will run. Again we are getting the error. Some location is not correct, looks like. We are getting error. So what actually we have done, we had to pass the whole file actually. So let's pass the whole file and let's see whether it's working or not. So here I will add all the thing, means the dot parquet, this whole file actually I am passing. You can see now job is executing. So what actually we had to write, so what was the issue actually? Now we are reading the whole file, but you can see we are able to read all the file as it is, like event type, everything. Now we are able to read. So what actually the issue is like, this how this particular location, right, you have to understand. So what you have to go, you have to go into the ADLS. What is your storage account? Storage account name is POC retail, and what is my container name is retail. So first we have to specify the container name, then the storage account name that you have to pass, and after that you have to pass the whatever the directory. So I want to store into the silver, so I'll pass the silver here. So that's how we had to do. This I can remove this I already executed, right? Now I'm going to write into the silver dataset. Let's see whether it's working or not. I'm going to filter the data and I am going to store into the silver. This particular directory I'm going to write the particular file. So let's see whether it is working or not. You can see it is succeed, jobs is succeed. We'll go to that location, go to the retail. Let's see whether our file is available or not. Go to the silver. You can see the part file is available. This is how actually we have done that, means we are able to uh, run that. Now after that what we will do, we are going to create a gold layer. So in the gold layer what we have to do on a daily basis, what is the total purchase and what is the total revenue we have to show. What we have to show, what is the total purchase and what is the total revenue. So this is what we have to show on a daily basis. So now what actually we'll do, we have already converted from API to the bronze we have done. Now from a bronze to the silver we have done. Now from the silver, right, gold layer we are going to create. In this gold layer on a daily basis, what is the total revenue and the total purchase, purchase. What is the total purchase? Total purchase is nothing but a number of time purchase is happening. Suppose I am a customer, I have purchased two time on a day. So what is the total number of purchase? It will be a 2. What is the total revenue? Suppose first time 100 rupees I paid, second time 100 rupees, so total will be 200. So 200 will be a total revenue. So total purchase is number of times and total revenue is the sum of the revenue. So let me show you what is the code I have written. This is a gold data set. Let me copy this. This also we are going to execute. Now here what actually I am doing, first I am reading the file which is available into the silver data set. So how actually you can read that? You have to pass this particular location, because from here we are going to read that, right? Copy that and pass that. From this particular location we are going to read the silver data set. It is in Parquet, right? Now we are going to create a aggregate. So what actually we are going to do, we are going to group based on the event date and we are going to find out the sum of amount. Sum of amount is nothing but it is a revenue, and count star is nothing but a number of time that event is happening, that is a total purchase. This is a daily revenue we are going to do, and also we are going to do one more aggregate. and this is not ask. Here also what I am doing, product category, based on the product category what is the total sales that actually happening, that actually we are going to do. This is not ask, so let's remove as of now, but this also you can do that. So as of now what actually we are writing, on a daily basis what is the total revenue and what is the total purchase. So this is what we are going to do. Before to that, let me add into the new cell. Let me show you whether we are able to read the silver data set or not. So I will do df.silver.show so that we will be able to read that we are able to read the silver data set or not. I'll show you how our silver data set looks like. So this is our silver data set. Here we have a event dates, we are converted into the date whatever the timestamp was coming. Event ID we have, product ID we have, product category we have, payment method is there, amount is there, location is there. So if I'll do sum of amount, I will get the total revenue. And if I'll do count star means number of events, that will tell me the total purchase. Because in a silver layer we are only filtering the all the purchase related event, right? So that's why this is what actually I am doing. Now I will try to write it. Where I want to write, I want to write into this particular location gold data set. So I'll copy this. Where you want to write, I want to write this into a gold location. So instead of silver, I want to write into the gold. So here we have a one more location, right? If I'll go there, under retail, we have one more location and that is a gold. So here only I want to write that. So let's execute this. And here it should be available. Now if I'll show you what is the output we are getting, dot show. So you can see on a daily basis, what is the total revenue, daily revenue, and what is the total number of purchases happening, that we can see. You can see on 2024-23, this is the total revenue, daily revenue, and this is the total number of purchase. Means we are getting all the details, and this is what we are sharing with the clients. Now if you can see in the gold, right, the file should be available there. Go to the retail, go to the gold, you can see the file is available. Means we have successfully able to load, we are able to bring the data into the bronze, we are able to clean the data, and finally gold layer aggregate we have created, and this we can share with the stakeholders. Now suppose you want to create a table in a SQL layer, you want to see the data. So how actually you can do that? So what we'll do, in a develop, right, click on the plus, click on the SQL script. Now we are going to create one table and that will point to the gold location. So I already have a script. This is the script I have. I'll just copy this. I'll paste this. First we will create a database. So what is the database I am going to create? I am going to create the database name as a retail POC. This is the database I am going to create. So let me execute this. And this is the database actually got created. I am going to use that particular database. I'll refresh this. Retail POC, this is the database I have created. Now what actually I am going to do, I am going to create one table. The table name is a daily revenue. Here the event date, daily revenue, and the total purchase will come. That will come from the location. Now what is the location? Location is a gold, because from that location we will take the file. What is a data source? Data source is a blob retail data source. What is a blob retail data source? This blob retail data source contain the location, our location. Now our storage account name is POC retail and our container name is retail. So all the location is mentioned here. And what is a file format? This is a Parquet. So this is mentioned. Now let's run this. You can see it is successfully run. Now if you want to run that, select star from daily revenue. If you will do that, select star from daily revenue and let's try to run. You should be able to see that. You can see this event date, what is the total revenue, what is the total purchase. It's available in a table itself, and this table we can share with the stakeholders. So like that actually we can do. So what we have done till now, we have created one, we have bring the data from a API to the bronze layer. Now from this bronze layer, what we have done, we have filtered the data, we have filter and the clean the data, and we have bring into the silver layer. Now from silver layer, we have created the aggregated data, and we have created the gold layer. And from this gold layer, we have created one SQL table, and this SQL table we will share with the clients. So that's how we have done. I hope you got the idea. Please do practice. It's very much important.